So today we're going to be talking about what happens when someone with high narcissistic traits pushes an empath too far. If you love this content, please don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell. This way, every time I upload a new video, you, dear one, will be the first to know. So an empath is someone who cannot differentiate their feelings from the feelings of others. This is a beautiful, beautiful quality when it is not being exploited by people with high narcissistic traits. Someone who is an empath oftentimes has come from a home where there has been little empathy for the children of the home. If you are an empath, you may have felt growing up that it was your job to save your mother, or it was your job to save your father, or it was your job to save maybe the siblings of the home. But there was the sense that you were there to heal other people and to take care of other people. You're very overwhelmed by the emotions of others, and it's difficult for you to figure out, are these my emotions or are they the emotions of someone else? When you are an empath, it's easy to walk into a room and pick up on energies, and oftentimes you're confused. You may suddenly feel upset about something but not know why. I've also coached people who resonate with being an empath and who have said, I have found myself in relationships with men and or women that I didn't necessarily even like. It was almost like I could sense that person's attraction for me, and I ended up in a relationship with them not being able to differentiate my feelings from their feelings. So they were attracted to me and I could feel that. But when I stepped back, when I developed the ability to be clearer about boundaries, and when I was honest with myself, it wasn't I who was really attracted to them. If you have high empathy, if you identify as an empath, you are someone who feels like it's your duty, or you feel naturally drawn to wanting to heal people. You can sense the wounds of other people. And it's difficult for you to address this idea that maybe these wounds and maybe this pain isn't yours. Maybe it's someone else's. And how you interpret it is, I want to help heal this person. Like I said, it's a beautiful quality, but what happens in relationships that are toxic is that you and your empathy will be exploited by someone who feels more safe and who requires dominance in order to feel regulated in a relationship. Here are 8 signs that you may be an empath. Number 1, you are easily overwhelmed by the emotions of others. Number 2, you take on other people's problems literally as if they are your own. Number 3, you struggle to say no to people that you believe need your help. Number 4, it's difficult for you to enjoy alone time because you tend to worry about other people's problems. Number 5, you experience tremendous overwhelming guilt when you do not offer help to someone that you believe needs it. Number 6, you have a very difficult time setting boundaries with family and friends, and especially with people that you think need help. Number 7, you are shocked when you come to the realization that not everyone operates in the world with the level of empathy that you do. Number 8, it's easy for you to imagine what other people feel and to imagine what other people need in order to fix or heal their life. So what happens when someone with high empathy or someone who resonates with being an empath begins to date and or finds themselves in a relationship with someone who is highly narcissistic? Number 1, the empath will begin to feel overwhelmed by the demands of the narcissistic person. Number 2, an empath usually ends up feeling like there's nothing they can do right. Number 3, your emotions will be dismissed by the narcissist. Number 4, the narcissist will cause the empath to believe that their emotions are the result of overreacting. Number 5, the narcissist will resent the empath's desire to heal them. Number 6, in time, the empath will eventually discover, hopefully, that this person is narcissistic and that their empathy is being exploited. Number 7, the empath eventually leaves and or ends the narcissistic relationship. When a narcissist pushes an empath too far, amazing things happen. Before we discover ourselves as empaths or those with high empathy, we think and we believe that everyone is operating in the world the way we do. We are unaware that not everybody is sensitive to their environment. that not everybody is sensitive to the emotions and the feelings and the needs and the wants of other people. We really, up until that point where we awaken, we really do believe that everyone that we're operating with, everyone that we're dealing with, everyone that we speak to, everyone that we work with, it's sort of this expectation or this assumption that everyone feels about us the way we feel about them. It is quite the awakening when an empath begins to recognize this is simply an illusion, that the way you see the world is not the way that everyone else sees the world. And it can be a very topsy-turvy time, because oftentimes when we are empaths and we are in relationships, we have found ourselves feeling overly involved or enmeshed with people that we can sense their wounds, and we naturally want to heal them. An empath incarnates on this planet, in my opinion, as someone who really wants to help heal the world. They want everyone to feel good. They want everyone to feel whole. They don't realize that their empathy will be exploited by predator-type personalities. They don't believe that people exist that don't have empathy or lack empathy. It doesn't make sense to an empath that they might be dealing with someone who has high narcissistic traits. They just think, I haven't figured out how to say what needs to be said in order for this person who is in pain to hear me. It's not their fault that they behave this way. It's their childhood. This person doesn't know what love is. That's why they don't trust me. An empath keeps going and going and going. They're like the Energizer Bunny until the narcissist has completely drained them and they begin to realize what's going on in the relationship, and that's when things begin to change. Once an empath has awakened, they become a fierce phoenix that is rising up out of the ashes. They become unbelievably galvanized when they realize that their incredible empathy has been exploited. Then what begins to happen is the empath begins to finally develop boundaries. The empath recognizes that if she or he does not protect the self, there are energy people out there, energy vampires, that will drain them and drain their light and reduce their light. And they will not be able to help other people, let alone themselves. They will not be able to be the healers in the world that they feel that they are if they allow predators to drain them. And so an empath who has finally had enough is someone who recognizes what's going on finally, possibly for the first time. They become able to see people for who they really are. They are now able to differentiate predator-type personalities from people who are more trustworthy. Now, all of this energy that has been focused outside of them, wanting to take care of everyone else, wanting to heal everyone else, now all of this amazing energy begins to get focused on the inside. Now, as an empath, we want to heal the self. A healed empath is a very strong warrior. This is someone who understands what emotional battle is like. This is someone who's beginning to understand that just because they see the world in a beautiful way doesn't mean that everybody sees the world in that way. This is someone who understands that toxic relationships exist. This is someone who stops seeing the world through rose-colored glasses and is more realistic about the potential of being exploited. This is someone who realizes, whoa, wait, I need to take care of me first. Because empaths come into this world and they naturally take care of other. They're oftentimes very selfless. They can be people pleasers. They could be also codependent. So a codependent gains their sense of self by fixing other people and feeling like they need to be needed. And it goes back to abandonment issues, attachment issues, and not feeling good enough. So it is possible to be an empath with high codependency traits. You can also be a codependent and not be an empath. But I do believe that if you're codependent, you have a certain amount of empathy that allows you to see in other people their wounds, and you want to fix them. But this feeling of fixing comes from a point in childhood that caused you to feel like you were not enough. Codependency is a result of poor parenting in lots of the cases. And I need to be in a relationship in which I am fixing people. I need to feel as if I am proving myself to the person that I'm with. I need to acquiesce. I need to subjugate. I need to figure out what it is that you need so that I can people please, so that I can be of service. When I am of service, I feel like I am avoiding your rejection. The problem is, as a codependent, I am oftentimes attracting people who are highly narcissistic and who will exploit my need to be needed. An empath is someone who wants to heal the other person. A codependent is someone who wants to fix the other person. An empath doesn't necessarily have to be in a relationship to be an empath. An empath can walk into a grocery store and feel the emotions of the girl behind the counter and may not be able to differentiate this feeling of sadness or this feeling of grief or this feeling of anxiety or this feeling of overwhelm. But they are oftentimes able to intuit that this person may be feeling anxious or feeling insecure, and they might say something, even to the stranger, that involves a healing comment. They will take on this healing approach with the natural tendency to want to heal the person that they feel may be experiencing some level of angst and or anxiety. An empath has learned or believes that in order to heal other people, they have to give of themselves. In this situation, it could be devastating when an empath is in a relationship with someone who is highly narcissistic. Because as the empath sees it, I have to give to you in order to heal you. In order for you to be whole, I have to give of myself for you to feel better. And that can be very dangerous when we're in a relationship with someone who is highly narcissistic and in fact lacks empathy. If you are an empath and you have been taken advantage of by a narcissist, this has a lot to do with our propensity to want to heal people, our propensity to feel how other people feel. I've had clients who have been in relationships with people who have been very damaging, and I oftentimes hear clients say, but I understand what his childhood was like. He didn't mean to treat me that way. He's suffering self-esteem issues. He feels unworthy. And she goes right into wanting to heal her partner's feeling, wanting to be the love that this narcissist never received. We don't recognize the fact that an empath is a very different energetic being than a narcissist. So an empath is someone who is a beacon of energy, and a narcissist is someone who is a vacuum of energy. So an empath is giving, a narcissist is taking. Eventually, obviously, if you look at it from the energetic perspective, the empath is the one who ends up feeling drained. Now, many empaths take time to recover. And a recovered empath is someone who's figured it out. It's someone who has found their identity. It's someone who has found their superpower. It is a beautiful thing to have empathy for other people, but not at the expense of yourself. Not when you don't know how to set a boundary. Not when you are not able to recognize and differentiate your feelings from the feelings of other people. Not when you're not able to recognize a narcissist for a narcissist. Not when you don't know what love bombing is. Not when you don't know what crazy making communication is. An empath in the middle of a word salad, an empath in the middle of a crazy making conversation doubts themselves. An empath who is in a toxic relationship is justifying and rationalizing their partner's poor behavior. As a young girl, when my ex-boyfriend was flirting with other girls, when my ex-boyfriend was treating me harshly, my mind went to, well, that's because he has a poor relationship with his dad. So I was rationalizing the poor behavior. And I may have even been right. His low self-esteem, his low self-worth may have come from that. Intuitively, that's what I felt. But that prevented me from being able to honor myself. How did I feel when this was going on? What did I think? My I was dissolved. I had no I. I was raised by a codependent woman and a narcissistic father. I was unable to meet the needs of my codependent mother and my narcissistic father. As a child, I think I developed tremendous empathy because of my childhood, because of poor parenting. Now, this is not to blame my parents. This is to understand the energetic being and the Rubik's Cube of a brain that I developed over time. Why? So that I, as a conscious human being, can make logical decisions about the rest of my life. If I want to control my destiny, I have to control my now. For me to understand my now, I have to understand who I've been. For me to understand who I've been, I have to take a logical approach to figuring out what happened to me and how I was created. As an empath, I didn't feel good enough unless I was taking care of other people. And it was so natural for me. What did I attract? I attracted very wounded people. If you are an empath, you tend to be someone who finds themselves in the middle of people who need to be healed. And we do need healers on planet Earth. We do need people who have high empathy. However, for those of us who feel like we've come here to help heal others, to help guide others, we need boundaries. We need to be able to differentiate our feelings from other people's feelings. When a narcissist pushes an empath too far, what ends up happening is that break takes place. It's like for the first time in our life, we're able to see how we are different than someone else. Because up until that time, we're thinking everybody has the same level of empathy that we do, and that's just not true. So we stay below the veil of consciousness. We're running out a simulation pattern. We falsely believe that everyone is like us, and they're not. We seek to heal people, so we attract very wounded people, and oftentimes we attract people who are incapable of wanting to heal themselves, incapable of taking responsibility. So when a narcissist pushes an empath too far, this is when he or she gets to the end of their rope and they begin to develop empathy for the self. Now, once an empath begins healing the self, they become a galvanized healer, in my opinion. They become someone who now radically loves themselves. They become someone who understands a boundary. They become very highly intuitive. Now, because they understand what's going on, they're so much more able to honor themselves, love themselves. They respect the fact that they're an empath. They know that this is like gold inside their heart space, and they become very protective of it, which means now we have wisdom. So now we're able to recognize when someone is in our experience who is looking to exploit that. It is a beautiful place to be because now you are in protective self mode. Now you've developed the boundary to protect the self. Now, as an empath, you have so much more energy to flow towards people that you are now seeing more objectively, more clearly, and through the eyes of wisdom. Never again will you be fooled by someone who wants to take advantage of your empathy. You are able to develop such an amazing dose of self-love. You recognize yourself as an empath. You recognize that this is a quality that allows you to validate, resonate, and help other people see in themselves what they need to heal for their benefit, for their spiritual advancement, for their evolvement. You recognize it as a beautiful quality, and you no longer will allow someone to take advantage of it. So you are no longer worried about what other people think about you. Now you're worried about you. Now you are taking care of you. You become almost like completely immune to negative people's energy. It doesn't matter to you. You are not on planet Earth to heal people who are not on the planet to heal. You are not on this planet to help take care of people who don't wish to take care of themselves. That's not your place. Empathy, when it's flowed in the direction towards people who are on the path to evolve and who are self-accountable and who are self-responsible, that is when your empathy becomes of service, because it's sort of like a hand up. It's a sense of support. Empathy allows people to feel connected. It's an amazing energy. I call it the healing emotion. And when an empath begins to realize that someone with high narcissistic traits has completely exploited that, it's a beautiful time, because now the empath is taking care of self. Now all of this self-love is flown towards the self-protection emotion, all of the healing energy that you are offering other people, you're now able to offer it to the self. When a narcissist pushes an empath too far, that's when an empath begins to heal the self. Once the empath comes out of the cocoon, they become a galvanized, strong warrior of love and light, not which the likes of a narcissist really wants to tango with in the future. Narcissists will fear the healed empath because the healed empath can see through the narcissist. The empath is no longer willing to be a source of narcissistic supply. And the narcissist can sense that even though they're dealing with an empath, they've met their match. The empath can see through someone with high narcissistic traits, and they're not here on planet Earth to make the narcissist feel any less about themselves. An empath is not here to make anyone feel less than. An empath is here to shine. An empath is here to be empathic and to help other people learn to have self-compassion and self-empathy, as empathy is the healing emotion. When a narcissist meets a healed empath, they want nothing to do with this person who they know has come through the dark night of the soul and is now able to heal the self and is no longer interested in healing people who don't want to be healed. Remember, if you're someone who resonates with being an empath, what you need to do is focus on the self. What you need to do is to learn to differentiate your feelings from the feelings of others. What you need to do is to take stock of how often you have found yourself in relationships that required you to walk on eggshells, that you naturally wanted to heal other people. Take stock of the people who have taken advantage of you, see the pattern, and then at that point recognize that you have a right to take all of this empathy and flow it towards the divine self. If you need help working, inner child work is essential if you are an empath who is struggling with boundaries. Please check out my 21-day inner child. If you're interested in taking the deep dive, if this resonates with you and you're interested in taking the deep dive, check out my 12-week breakthrough coaching program, where you as an empath will learn to where you as an empath and or a codependent will learn to differentiate your feelings from the feelings of others. You will learn to love the self, honor the self, and heal the self so that you can live a powerful and authentic life. Namaste, everybody. Until next time. Hey, if you love this content, don't forget to check out the next video, and you can go to my website and take the codependency quiz.